Okay, welcome back to my shop. You might have seen in an episode, couple episodes back, I got some clamps from Harbor Freight. Right here is my clamp rack, and it is really served good. I like where it's located. It's located right by the door here. This is the door that goes to my house. So I can't really stick anything here that comes out too far because of, being able to get in and out of that door. So this has really been a great place for me to hang my clamps on the wall. One of the problems I'm having now, well, there's a couple problems, but the first one is I can't really get any more clamps up there. Another problem I'm having with the clamps is I also have some bar clamps over there, and they're just kind of hanging from there, right? They don't really, they just kind of sit up here. There's no real channel for them. So I'd like to get something and put something to hold these, as well as maybe 2 or 4 more, maybe 2 more. I also got these bar clamps from Harbor Freight, and they have worked great for me. That's what I use to glue up panels. I don't have any real beefy clamps like a Jetta or a Bessie, or I just really can't afford them. Eventually I do want to get like 2 or 3. So if I am gluing up I can use them to glue up panels and then supplement them with other clamps. I don't see me getting a lot of them. They're just too expensive. But there's a lot of room here. In fact, I can get more clamps up here in the same amount of space. The gaps between these are fairly large. Also, another problem I have is down here. I have a board that these spring clamps kind of just sit on, but it's not big enough for all of them. I also have a couple wooden screw clamps I really don't have a home for. I don't necessarily mind how they're clamped on here, just we need to find a way to better organize those. C-clamps. This is a C-clamp thing. Works pretty good for these big ones, but I have other sizes. There's some work there. I have this for small clamps. It's okay. It too can be condensed. Basically 90-degree miter clamps, which what they are. I have a couple of those. They're kind of propped up there. That doesn't really work all that well. I also have these are just blocks that I use kind of as clamping blocks. They're nice to have maybe a home for those. So there's some work that can be done here. This is all hung up with a French Cleat system, and then it's screwed up to hold it in place. But I think we need to get this down, take a look at it, either see how we can modify it to fit our needs more, or if we need to go ahead and do a complete rebuild. So I'm going to go ahead and take all these clamps off.
Okay, so the French Cleat here really is just, it's held up with 2 screws. And that's just to keep it from popping off. All the weight on this is really supported by the cleat itself. We're just going to go ahead and take this down. I'm checking the spacing here. I realized I can get 2 clamps in the amount of space I was getting 1. So I took them to the table saw, and I basically ripped them in half, accounting for the space the other clamp bar will take up. Okay, so I checked for spacing and realized I could tighten these up a little bit, getting a couple more clamps up there in the long run. So what I decided to do is I made these wooden spacers. These spacers are a little bit wider than the bars of the clamp. This way when I go to assemble, I can just put them in. I'll plop them right down, and that gives me my gap. I decided to go and cut a new French Cleat. The other one was completely filled with screw holes. I thought it was just good to grab some ply and start over here. So I just ripped this to length. I decided to round over the edge of this basically MDF here, and that'll just help guide the clamps in a little easier. Marked where I'm going to drill all the holes. They're pre-marked so I could take this right over to the drill press. I put a temporary fence back there, and we just went ahead and I just drilled the holes. Boom, boom, all the way down the line, reset the fence, and did the front holes. Okay, I just took a little countersink to the back so the French Cleat would sit flush. just assembled. This is in real time. Just put a space, right? Now here I'm using the smaller spaces. The bigger ones were for the bar clamps. These are for the regular F clamps. Button the next one up, screwing it down, keeping everything level with my square, and just working my way down. That's really all it takes to assemble this. It's really not a fancy thing. I went for function here, not looks.
Okay, so I'm going to take this. Up we go. Right. Not too bad. I'm going to drive some screws in. Okay, so there we go. There we have it. Was able to get the clamps up. Not too bad. I come in and grab them. A lot more clamps up there, but still not enough. So tomorrow, it's getting kind of late, so tomorrow we'll go ahead and I'll rework the bottom. Now one of the things that I have, I don't know if you can see it right here, is it's a picture frame I made of Wood Magazine drill guide. It's pretty cool. It came when I got my subscription. Tells me what bits to use, what RPMs to drive them at. And I hung it up there right next to my drill press so I would know what speeds and stuff. Never used it. Reuse the space. Not a bad idea. I guess I referenced it when I first started, but I haven't really looked at it in a long time. So this space is a little more versatile to me now for clamps. And that's what I'll put there. I'll do that tomorrow. Okay, good night. Okay, good morning. Here's my old clamp rack, the lower one. Couple clamps went here. I have 3 clamps. Not really too much room. Some C clamps went here, and this little ledge held spring clamps. I'm going to pull it all down because we're going to rearrange some of this area for C clamps and stuff. We're going to do it a little differently. I'm going to put a lower bank to hold clamps like these down there. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off.
Okay, so I measured here. We decided to do a whole different way of doing the clamps here compared to what I did to the top. So basically I'm going to take this plywood and I'm going to measure spacing for the clamps all the way along, and I'm going to cut slots in it to hold the clamps. So instead of using the way I did it on the top, this is just a different approach. I decided to do this way to show 2 different ways, as well as kind of utilize what I had. I didn't really have any more MDF in the shop. I got the benefit of showing 2 different ways of doing it, using what scraps I had. I'm just going to cut this to length, and I'm going to do it with a handsaw. I'm basically going to go ahead and start working on the spacing. I want to leave room for support blocks and a back cleat area that I would use to attach to the wall. So once I got that done, I can figure out where to start drawing the slots for the clamps. Here are the slots. They're all drawn out. The squiggly lines indicate the waist. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to the drill press. I'm going to drill holes at the end. See, you can see the holes all along there. And now I'm just going to cut this by hand, and I'm going to cut out these slots. Now the reason I'm doing it by hand, I could rig something at the table saw, not really thinking that's the safest way. It's too long to really effectively get into my bandsaw. I'm just using this Marple's bought at Home Depot style Dazuki saw. Works pretty good. I think I spent 15 bucks on it. And I'll just cut all the slots out this way. Okay, there are all the slots cut out. I chamfered the front end to help kind of guide that clamp in, but that's how they're going to be held, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling this, and what I want to do is I need to put the back board on. Here I'm pre-drilling to keep from splitting the ply. I'm using some corner clamps to hold it, and I'll just put some screws in it. It's real simple construction. There's nothing really fancy with it. Once again, all function. So I need these little braces here in the corners and a couple down the mid stretch, help hold the weight of those clamps. I'm just going to cut the little squares to length over at the table saw. I'm going to draw a diagonal line corner to corner, and I'm going to rough these out at the bandsaw. The cuts on these don't have to be pretty, just right down the middle. Since that edge is just, I'm kind of getting 2 braces out of 1 square, cutting it for more looks and saving material. Figure out where they go, and they'll just get screwed together too. Put one there, and I'll drill pilot holes, countersink them, and screw them together. And that'll just give some added support for the weight of those clamps. Okay, we're over at the wall. I have Reese helping me. My niece Reese.
It's very hard to hold this when my hand's not all the way over there.
Well, you're just going to have to try to do your best.
Why? By pushing it against the wall.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Okay. So, I have to slide it this way though.
Right there. Hold it. No, you got to lean back. I can't see. Okay. Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. Okay, so that's where it's going to go.
Oh, great. You're doing that.
I have a drill. And we're just going
Don't drill my fingers.
Okay, if you let go, it should hold. Well, go ahead.
Phew!
Right?
It left a mark.
Left a mark, yeah.
You can't see that. Just kidding,
Okay,
I just-
let me put the other screw in. Step back.
Oh, that's my flip-flop. I don't know why.
Flip-flops really aren't a good shoe to be wearing out in the shop.
Well, I have no other shoes that I brought.
There we go.
Okay, I moved some of the lower clamps, or the smaller clamps, down to that lower clamp rack. And it still gives me a lot of room to expand if I get more clamps.
Let's put it in. Okay. Come over here. Stand over here. Got it?
I'm pushing.
Okay. That's not the right one.
Seriously, just throw it on the ground.
Yeah, I got a little girl that picks up all that stuff.
He's making me angry right now. He's making me push everything.
Right against the wall. That'll give us some area. Now we can move things around, put cleats up, do whatever we need in this area and just screw it wherever it works. Okay, I got a handful of clamps. They're all kinds of miscellaneous clamps. I have some miter clamps. I also use these clamps. I got these are other Harbor Freight clamps. I use these when I'm putting together cases and stuff too, to square up the corners. They work really well. So I use them for that. I'm probably going to get a couple more of those. So I want to keep them with room to expand. I have this one here, which was my father's. I took it from his house because he doesn't really use this kind of stuff anymore. So I'm putting that to use. I have a handful of C-clamps, different sizes, 3-inch. These they were going to throw out at work. 5-inch, took them. Brinking cotton. They're old clamps. Made in America. I couldn't see them going to the dumpster. Even these, this is, they were going to throw this out. This is a clamp that's good to add, like, kind of edge banding and stuff. We're going to throw that out as well as this. So I took those. I got some a whole bunch of these little spring clamps. We need to find homes for them.
Okay, this is what I used to hold my spring clamps, and it basically was a board on a French cleat, and I just clamped them to it. It worked great, but I think there's some improvements. If I go ahead and mount it vertical instead of horizontal, you can get more clamps. So I basically made these boards, and what I'm going to do is I rounded them over, and I'm going to go ahead and put some pocket screws in them. and I'm going to pocket screw them to the wall. Now you see I'm just sticking it on through those pocket screws right to the board. You can see I drilled the top pocket hole a little too high. I decided not to fix it. There's plenty of support from the bottom 2 screws. I added a second one. I can't put anything too big right there because of the drill press kind of being in that area. So having these clamps there work great. This is my C-clamp rack that I had up there before. There's really nothing wrong with it, and it's worked good for those big C-clamps. I'm just going to reattach that to the wall. Here I'm making a clamp rack that will help hold my larger corner clamps. I didn't really have a home for those. This will give a place for them to go. I'm using these kind of thin dowels. I don't know how well, in retrospect, this is really going to hold up. It hasn't really given me a problem yet, but I only have 2 clamps up there. I designed it to hold 4, but I think once I get out that far, it's not really going to hold them too well. So for the time being, it works. The benefit of this system is I can unscrew it, come up with something else, and reattach it. Okay, I'm going to assemble this box here, and basically it's just a box that I can attach to the wall that kind of just holds my clamp pads as well as my band clamps. It's a little tray to hold those in so they kind of have a home. Before they used to just kind of rest on the floor. So I'm going to grab my block plane and just put a slight chamfer. Now some people say you shouldn't use a block plane on something like ply. I disagree. The only downside to something like that is you're just going to have to sharpen it more. I'm not taking a high-end smoothing plane. It's a block plane. That's what it's designed to do. Screws right into that board. Just going to screw it to the wall, and now I have a little tray. My clamps can just rest in there.
Okay, well there we have it. Here it is. It's got rooms for my C-clamps, my angle clamps, spring clamps. I even have my Craig clamp over here. My bar clamps. And I think this tray will kind of work pretty good. Be able to just set my stuff in there. I think it'll work out nice. It's not bad. I mean, it's not fancy, and it sure doesn't really even look that pretty. But it's a clamp rack. It's serving its purpose. To me, functionality is much more important here. Can I come and grab clamps quickly? Does everything have a home? That's what I'm looking for. So, until next time.